now that we've talked about some fundamental data types of Python, we are going to do a fun little project, a Mad Lib project, and talk about making our programs a bit more interactive with the input method. So up to this point, we haven't actually taken any user input at the terminal. But what the input method does is that allows us to take input at the terminal, and we can make our programs interactive. So I think this will be a fun project, and it's very useful when we're writing programs. So input gets input from the user at the command line prompt. It reads a line from the input that the user types in and converts it to a string and returns that string. That's very important. If we want to return a number, we have to convert it to a number with typecasting, which is something that we've discussed. This input method takes an optional string argument, which is displayed as the prompt to the user. So we have an age variable here. We're assigning to the value that's returned from this input function. The argument here is enter your age. It's a string. So this is what the user will see. They'll see enter your age, colon, space, and then their input will follow. Age will be assigned the value of that input as a string. We're then going to typecast age into an integer. Now we see that's 2 lines of code. We could also do it this way with 1 line of code, which I'd suggest. If we know we need an integer, we can just do int and call that int method, make sure we're surrounding in parentheses, and then within that, our input method. So what's returned from input will get passed into the int method, which will then get assigned to age. And then we could print out UR in our age variable, years old, using an F string. Let's walk through a few examples of the input method, and then we'll get into our MATLib project, and I'll describe that. So first of all, I've got my myscript.py file, and we're going to add some Python to it. Let's assign a name, variable name to input, calling the input method, and then as an argument to that method. And what that means by argument is what's inside our parentheses that the input method can use as it processes. We're going to say, what is your name? We'll hit a space just so the prompt, the user isn't typing immediately following that question mark. There's a space and then their text will follow. Let's say number 1 is input, enter number 1, and number 2, input, enter number 2. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'll have the values of these 3 variables once the user actually inputs them. And we'll just say, we'll print them out. So let's print with an F string. I love my F strings. Love our F strings. F string name says that num1 plus num2 equals, and then we'll just do the results here of num1 plus num2. So we can do this operation here within our curly braces, which is so nice with F strings. So let's save this. I'm saving that with Command S or Control S on a Windows, and then let's run it. Python my script. What is your name? Joseph. Enter number 1. 5. Enter number 2. 3. Joseph says. Okay, this is a great example, guys, of why we need to be careful with our integers and strings, because what happened here? Joseph says that 5 plus 3 equals 53. So what happened here? I want you to think about that. What is the type of num1 and num2? Let's see. Type, let's do num1. Let's run that again. Joseph, let's just do 5 and 5. It's a string. So I didn't want to edit this out because I think it's a great demonstration to show you what happens when you don't convert these to integers or to numbers, either an integer or a float. I'm just going to convert them to integers, and it just concatenated these two strings. So it's concatenating the string 5 and the string 3. So with input, we need to typecast to an integer or a float if we want to do our mathematical operations here. I'm just going to do integers to make it simple. Now let's try again. Let's clear our screen. Joseph, let's say 10 and 7. So now we've got it right. Joseph says that 10 plus 7 equals 17. So that's just a cool little demonstration of using our input method.